As the Strait of Hormuz blockage continues, it's not just oil and gas being impacted. Noah Gordon points out the supply and price of food and fertilizer is also impacted. Noah is a fellow in the Sustainability, Climate and Geopolitics program at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Noah, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Explain this to me. We know oil and gas, the volume of it that moves through that Strait of Hormuz. When it is blocked or constricted, what is the impact on other things, particularly food and fertilizer?
Yeah, I'm glad you're drawing attention to this. You've really got a double crisis with fertilizer. The Middle East region is a big producer of fertilizer itself. Nitrogen-based fertilizer comes from places like Saudi Arabia and Qatar. And that obviously can't get out of the strait, just as oil and gas can't get out. And that's helped push fertilizer prices up about 40% in North America and more in some other regions. But it's really a double crisis. So it's not just that the fertilizer isn't getting out. Oil and gas is also the crucial feedstock for fertilizer production. Natural gas is the most important component of nitrogen-based fertilizer, nitrogen being one of 3 nutrients crops need to grow. So when natural gas can't get out of the strait, then we're seeing shutdowns in fertilizer production in places like India, Bangladesh, and Slovakia. You also have the problem of sulfur. That's a byproduct of oil and gas production. And fertilizer producers need sulfur to turn phosphate, a mined rock, into a liquid that plants can absorb. But sulfur is not getting out either, and so you're seeing price rises for sulfur, for phosphate that's supposed to come out of places like Morocco. So it's really a spiraling crisis that could lead to some food inflation throughout the year.
And throughout the world?
Throughout the world, that's right. Some countries are more exposed than others. China, North America, those are big fertilizer producers, Russia. But so they will be better supplied, but they're also taking steps to protect themselves. China was already restricting exports. It's tightened control. Same goes for Russia. But the countries most affected, Australia is a big victim, Brazil is a big fertilizer exporter, and countries closer to the region, especially the poorest, most vulnerable ones like Sudan, Sri Lanka, these places are in big trouble. They also can't afford to pay the higher price for the LNG that is still available, so they're shutting down their plants. India has been asking China if it could relax its controls and give it some more fertilizer. So it'll affect farmers everywhere. Farmers in rich countries are a little more protected, but they're also dealing with the agricultural calendar. I mean, April's a time when you want to apply fertilizer for your spring crops in North America. So North American farmers are still facing higher prices.
We are being told when it comes to oil and gas that this war, even after just 4 weeks, will have an enduring impact, perhaps years long. Will that also be the case with fertilizer and food, or will it be undone when the war ends?
I think we're already going to see damage that's going to last at least throughout the year. I mentioned sort of the seasonal calendar that plays a role. You can't just add fertilizer later if you miss a crucial window. India needs its fertilizer by May to plant for before the monsoon comes in June. And the thing with fertilizer is there's no big stockpile like we have for oil and gas. You've seen G7 countries like the U.S. and Canada releasing oil to try to fix the market. China has a stockpile, but most countries don't. There's no internationally coordinated one to release. And oil and gas also gets priority when something can come through the strait, or that will be the first thing to be shipped. So this is a crisis that will take a while to play out as farmers don't apply fertilizer now, maybe have a lower harvest in the fall, or don't have the crops that they wanted to plant. Some are switching from corn to soybeans. Unfortunately, this will lock in food inflation for the next year.
And let's talk about fertilizer in particular, that you can farm without it, but farming with it increases your yields, and therefore the amount of food that can be grown in a particular country is sufficient to feed its own people. But without fertilizer, it may not be.
That's a great point. We saw an example of this in 2021-22 when there was a similar fertilizer crisis caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And the year before, the president of Sri Lanka had decided that his country was going to switch to organic farming, basically ordered it, banned synthetic fertilizer overnight, and the results were disastrous. Rice yields fell by about 40%. There was a hunger crisis. There were riots, and eventually the government fell, and the president had to flee the country of Sri Lanka. So this is, in the long term, yes, we'd like to farm without so much synthetic fertilizer, to apply it, with more precision so that not so much runs off into the water causing problems. But the fact is that synthetic fertilizer produced from natural gas supports the food that keeps almost 8 billion people alive. So it's essential, and the crisis continues, and hopefully we can get it fixed soon.
Noah Gordon, thank you very much for your time.